Hi guys, this is Nikki, you also known as Faces Trader, and you're watching the Awesome 10X Global Market Update. It's December 2, 2020, and we're gonna discuss all the opportunities that are up for grabs this December. So let's take a look. Opportunities to buy this December 2020. Okay, the first things first, what happened last night? You've got a lot of electric vehicles going down 11%. Let's take a look at them one by one. This is your Rcimoto after a very breathtaking rally from $6 to $20. That is a times three move, and more than that, it just happened in less than a month. You could see that this profit taking today from 20.5 to $12 is just a very strong correction. However, even from 6 to 12, that is still 100%. In my view, these things have to be taken more as a buying opportunity rather than a selling zone. So FUV closed last night at $11.95. What should you know if you are looking to buy these shares? First and foremost, you've got a lot of supports, 1147 and finally 867. I don't think though that Rcimoto is gonna fall 867. Nonetheless, if it does, then actually it's just gonna be a buying opportunity. Of course, I'm a bit biased here because fundamentally, I don't think that Rcimoto is a loser in the next 5 to 10 years, even in just the next 5 to 6 months. So I would say that this dip in Rcimoto is actually a more effective buying area rather than a selling area. Now, if you have some Rcimoto shares and you've bought, unfortunately, between 14.6 to 13.2, somewhere in this zone, thinking that that was the 50% retracement, given that, of course, it rallied from 6 all the way to 20, or from that breakout zone of $8.67, I do think that these resistances at $15 to $16 might actually present that first resistances in the short term. However, eventually, give it some time, next earnings season, I think that Rcimoto could actually just consolidate like this, the way July to November did. It languished something like that. It could languish in a tight range, probably not as big of a range like this $4 to $8 zone. Probably either it's 11 to 18, or so I do think that there's a very strong bias selling here at about $18. 18 to 16, you've got a lot of selling pressure. However, these current levels are actually probably more on the support side. So Rcimoto is one of the buying opportunities that you could do this December. Even if you bought at 7 before here, I do think that averaging up here at 12, and even if you averaged up at 14 or even as high as 15, you could still just add this in your portfolio and put it in your watch list or buying list for your how is this? EV, electric vehicle exposure. This is a last mile delivery move. Now, of course, ChargePoint is a charging station, the number one charging station, and a SPAC. So it got listed in this year through a SPAC. I do think that current drops from about 42 all the way to 29 has given this very strong resistance at about 38. However, all these sellers are actually also going to be buyers. So today's price is 29.35. Do take note about the resistances. You'll have resistances at 35 and 31. These resistances are coming from people who have 17 below, who really want to take profits and out. However, there's also going to be a lot of support here at about 26 and 23. Take note that for FUV, the drop was very magnanimous. It even fell all the way already at 23. So even at 29, although it is already tempting, SBE ChargePoint, given that it rallied from 17 to 42, also very fast. Actually, it's not even 17. It rallied from here levels of about 12 to 42 or 300% in just a month. That kind of explosive move always lends explosions, also momentum to the downside. However, that explosive momentum to the downside should be welcomed as a buying area. So you've got your FUV, you've got your SBE. These are all wonderful companies. You want to enter this as low as you can. If you bought at 29, let's say you bought here and you averaged up 14 plus 29, you averaged up 100%. You can still average some more at 23 if you want to add more. So I'm not sure if you can actually get 23 to 24. However, we're going to put our bids either way at these levels from about 23 to 26. Another potential buy area, of course, is XPeng. So XPeng actually reported something like 4,223 vehicles last night. The quarter was good. However, the market sold it down. That's actually fine, given that XPeng rallied already from as low as $15 here to $15 was the IPO. times 5 from IPO this year in just about 2 months. So naturally, there is some profit taking happening. From about 72, it's now down to 52. Can it go down to 47 tonight? I'd say that a lot of people are willing to buy this 47 to 39. However, XPeng might not really go down to as low as $40. So nonetheless, how should you tranche your buying here? If you really don't have an XPeng, I'd suggest that even at current levels of 52 is an advantage buying opportunity already, with the notion that you've got a lot of resistances $60 above. So no need to say that 72 will be your resistance. Even if you believe in this company in the long term, say about next year or next year or next 5 years, I do think that this is the likelihood of the trajectory for these names. It's probably going to consolidate. Either it falls down sharply at about $45 or $47 tonight. Nonetheless, any drop from about 52 current price all the way to 47 is your first support. I think that 39 is very hard to see whether it happens or not. Of course, these drops are fast, 10% down. So another 10% down tonight is also another buying area. Why don't you actually place your buying at 52 and 47 if you want to take a stab on XPEV? So NEO, of course, is already up from $1 all the way to $56. Granted, you won't ever get these levels nor these levels. The drops could actually heighten all the way to about 35. All of that is, of course, dependent on whether all of these electric charging stations, electric vehicles will also fall. Most of them are correlated at some point. So these are dropping 10%, 10%, 10%. Indeed, a lot of your electric vehicles have been dropping like flies last night. Of course, Zoom Video, let's discuss that too. Zoom Video reported earnings last night, and despite very good earnings, the market sold it down, perhaps because Zoom Video already rallied almost 10x this year from as low as about $60 to as high as $570. So a lot of people have already seen that this is already ripe for profit taking, even with a 300+% growth on their numbers. Yes, it's a perfect SaaS company. But this company, no matter how great those numbers are, does not satisfy the market's. I guess when you've rallied 10x already for the year, it's hard to really sustain those $100 billion valuation. So right now we do see that there was a very strong resistance at 470. The earnings front confirmed a drop here, 470 to 406. How low can this go? You have a lot of supports here at about 376. However, a lower drop is also possible here at about 350, which was just your September support. This was your September support at 350. That is your first line of defense. And of course, if that breaks, another support will be here at about 250, which is really the stronger move. The 250 is the support because not only is it 55% down from the peak, it is also of course, we're not sure if it will really go to 250. So let's give this first potential support of 37% down from the peak, which is somewhere in the 350 zone or even $370 zone. So between 350 to 375, expect some people to already be starting to move ahead on their Zoom Video and buying it in, even if their resistance is very clear here at about 470. Nonetheless, if that breaks down further, then you've got a lot of support here at 250. If you ask me where is the betting support here for Zoom Video, chances are it's really just here. I don't know if it's gonna be deep, but I think it's actually a shallow move, not a 50% drop. But if it actually breaks, there's no problem. 350 to 250 are great opportunities for an average entry point of 300 if you've sold already at about 450 to 500 above. What else are we talking about? Okay, so we are seeing that strength begets strength. Winners continue to win. That was the past trend that teaches us. How could we know that? Okay, let's take a look at some potential charts here. Take a look at some APPS, Peloton, Low Crush, Nov, Serens now. Let's take a look at each of them. So these are some of your biggest pandemic winners other than your Zoom Video. Peloton actually, after this gap down here, 120 to 90, has actually consolidated nicely and uptrending. You'll see that from 20 all the way to 110, the drops were actually being taken advantage of. From about 140 to 100, well, actually, that was $92, $95. We saw a drop of just 35%. Winners continue to win. That would be your Peloton. So given that Zoom Video didn't really surprise too much on the downside, it's just people trying to profit take I don't think that people will actually sell Zoom video on the $250 range. So I'd say that Zoom 350 to 375 tonight is actually already an attractive area to start nibbling in. Okay, if you even bought at 406, chances are you're also correct, because even if it falls from 406 to 375, if the nearby support is just 5% below, you've got a lot of people willing to buy already. What else are very strong? So the reopening themes, you could see that your APPS, your Roku, Digital Turbine has been very strong, from about $4 to as high as $45. Take note what happened. Every 30% drop has always been met with a lot of buyers. Let's take a look at the price action here, price ranges. From about 42, this fell to about 35% drop, or 27. Some of us got in even here already. I was a little bit late here at about 36. That was just 20% drop. So you could see that even after a strength, even already a strong move, you can see there was a gap up here. Some people entered 20, some people entered 28, and some people even entered at 36. That said, would you sell at 44 given a lot of people are selling off some shares? I would say that Digital Turbine is probably already at a 10x move. The fact that it's dropping 20, 30% drops lends people to do a lot of profit taking. So I'd say that if your cost is not low, you might see some profit taking at 45 only to get back in at 36. I'd see some choppiness going forward, even if it is a very strong uptrend. But does that mean that other digital advertising will be choppy? So let's take a look at that. This is Roku, of course, from about $58. It's already almost a 5x here at about $300. 60 times 5 is $300. So a very strong move, similar to all your reopening digital advertising names, but not just digital advertising, connected TV. So operating systems, all the streaming world are being aggregated by Roku. So you could see that this is still in a very strong uptrend. This one has no clear selling pattern, and the selling patterns have always been just muted. 240 down 20%, most likely known already. And most people are actually just looking at charts these days, given that the market is at elevated levels. At elevated levels, you already know the buyers and the sellers. You already have a predefined strong company. So for most of them, you can see that Spotify has been just sleeping from about 240 to 290. So it's just been sleeping their neutral range, similar to what happened to your Shopify. So typically, when a company is just sleeping, like in a range like this, it's similar. Shopify and Spotify are almost the same charts. I'd say that that is what's happening with a lot of companies that are, it's not necessarily gonna fall, but they have at least reached their first topish sign. So example, your JD, chances are $90 is your first high. Yes, it can go to $80, just muted drops, but it's already, consolidating. A lot of your e-commerce are consolidating right now. This one is actually very strong, consolidating, but very, very minor, 176 all the way to 160. Hardly pulls back, but it's actually a sign that it's really a very strong move, even on your e-commerce side. Let's take a look at some cannabis names, given that cannabis names last night rallied to resistance and then got sold down. So for instance, after a 200% move from 40 cents to $1.30, you see that these resistances have truly sharpened themselves as a major resistance. So for instance, Hexo here at 129 has proven itself as a resistance, just like it proved here and here. However, in my view, after some time, that resistance will prove to be not, and it can go 150 and also to $2. So I would view that drops of Hexo will actually be bought at a higher low. The higher low might never be here at about 90 cents or 80 cents. I'd argue that the higher low for some cannabis names might actually be as high as 90 cents to $1. So despite that 130 to 107 move, I think that the bias for a lot of cannabis names is actually on the higher side. Does that mean that the cannabis names in the strong all-time high is poised to sell down? Take note what's happening in some cannabis plays, pick and shovel play. This was up 700%, depending on year to date, or you can see that it's actually up more than almost 10x. Like this was $3 and now it's $33. It's not almost 10x. It is a true 10x move. So $3 to $36. A lot of people might see that yesterday or last few days drop is really the short-term peak. They might sell it off tonight, even at 33. And given that most of the companies are pulling back something like in the zone of 30%, I'd say that the leeway for growth generation to fall to 24 is also a 50-50 chance. So given that the market is currently showing signs of the ability to actually buy great companies like electric vehicles at a discount, you might have to see that some cannabis names might actually pull back some of their big gains. Example, these are all-time highs, True Leaf and Green Thumb. Given that this is still at all-time highs at 39, can it drop 30% from here? If you want to protect and lock in some gains, that's also possible. Chances are 39 might even go down to about 32 for your True Leaf. This is in Canada. So because we aren't sure if we are going down, it is just prudent to actually trim some froth. Anyway, this has gone from 8 to 45x. We're talking about leader companies, cannabis. Some cannabis names are at all-time highs. True Leaf, Green Thumb Industries, let's take a look at that. Even your GWPH, this is $4 to $20. That is times 5. I'd say that there are some people profit taking those 500% moves and 1,000% moves this year. That's really what happened to your electric sector, in my view. So Asian shares edge lower, stimulus, vaccine hopes provide support. I do think that there is a lot of rotation action last night. You could see that there are some names that have been the beneficiaries of the laggard move. Example, this IPO, Blue City. Blue City rallied from as low as 10 to as high as 15. That said, I think that there is a very strong resistance here at 16 and 17. So looking to trim some of these and actually using that cash to actually buy some shares that I said were buying opportunities. So there will be a lot of buying opportunities. However, you have to pick your buying opportunities. For instance, this CrowdStrike here at about 147 looks to be more on the resistance side. Even if it's a good company, triple tops here, triple bottoms are here at about $120 below. So support here. It is looking similar to the Spotify and Shopify chart. So Shopify had a great number, yes, but I do think that this is already ranging. So very strong resistance at 1,050 to 1,1, but very strong supports here at about $900. Similarly, what's happening to your momentum names like Gravity? Gravity already rallied from 20 to almost $200. I do think that it is prudent. I'm not calling tops, but I would agree that given that I could buy 10, 20, 30% sell-offs on your electric vehicles, that an awesome 10x portfolio is a truly diversified portfolio such that even if this one goes 180 all the way to 160, I'd say that there are some selling opportunities at these levels. What does it mean? What happened to Copen? From about $2, fell down to 180. Should I trim? Should I sell? What should I do? Copen, in my view, is in a long-term uptrend, definitely. However, you cannot eliminate the fact that people would sell at $2, 180, and that was something that was inevitable from people who were collecting these shares all across 140. So some people sold 215 to, pre-market, Copen actually opened as high as 220. Interactive brokers, you can actually sell shares and buy shares pre-market. And you could see that so far, all we know is that Copen had a resistance here at about 215 to 2 areas. So granted, if this one will rally tonight back to about 180 to 190 to $2, you'd see some resistances at Copen. And then finally, if it does break out of 240 and 3. So although I think that the bias for these names are actually on the upper end, I cannot eliminate the fact that the $2 area is still a resistance to be that needs to be broken. Now, what's happening on your gaming front? Let's take a look at some names that we like. 1337, okay. It just broke out of that 289. However, I would agree that that is a great breakout move for Razer. However, I'm not sure what's really gonna cause this to rally all the way to 395. Although I like this, we've been pushing, not pushing, we've been promoting Razer as a good buying company. You're about 138, 140, buying at 150, 160, even as high as $2. Some of us were willing to buy as high as $2. However, I should note that these levels at 270 to $3 might actually see some resistances. So whether it goes $4, I'm gonna just hold my half of position. So usually after a 100% rise, I would be willing to take some profits off. So 140 to 280 is considered a 100% move for some of the Awesome 10X members. That's why usually when I hit a triple digit, I do sell half. That is just my parang default way to sell, but it's not really a very clear, it's not as clear as day and night. So that said, of course, ChargePoint, XPeng, Unity, Palantir, this has already hit 100% triple digit move for us. What do we do with 150? That is already 100% move for us who got in at about $70. So I think that this one can still go higher, and it can just consolidate into a flag. If you are a bit scared of what happened with the solar sector, with the electric sector, there's nothing wrong if you really want to take some profits off the table, especially with secondary offerings on the way. So example, SunPower rallied from 24, it can go down to $20. If you are afraid for it to fall down 20%, you could put that sell area so that you will just protect it. That said, if you're selling, just sell 1/4 or 1/3, not all. I'm gonna take your questions, if any. There's a lot of charts to discuss. Okay, would you still go in Moderna at current prices? I've never pitched a buy on Moderna, so the answer would be no. Is QSR a buy? QSR is very Burger King. 53, you've got support. 66, you've got resistance. It's just in the nowhere zone, right? So at 57, you've got resistance. At 66, you've got a lot of buying pressure here at 52. So it's not the best risk-reward ratio in my view, but it's fine. Restaurants. It's a 10% name, not a 10x name. Is it a sell now for Geely? My average price is 16. So you have seen a lot. You've seen a lot of electric vehicles in China, like Xiaopeng and NIO falling down in the US. So this drop of Geely is actually something that is happening from 24 to 20. It's back to that support area of about $20. It depends on your time frame. You might want to sell. Rallies would be limited to about 21 to 22 to 24. If it rallies, you've got this selling pressure at 22. If it drops, I would say that there's going to be a very strong support here at $18. So it really will depend on your time frame. Will Geely still go $30 someday? My answer will be yes. Of course, I'm a bit biased here. I do think that the electric vehicle drops are actually more opportunistic areas to buy. However, given that a lot of Chinese electric vehicles are available in the US, I would rather put my money on buying XPeng, especially if I can buy it below $50 tonight, if it will really fall down tonight. So let's take a look as well on some automakers. 1211 BYD, also from 200 down to about 170. I actually estimate it can go 26 to 30% down. I'm still waiting for it to fall 140. So I think in the short term, most of the Chinese electric vehicles worldwide are seeing a sell-off. And that is just because of function. It's already up 500%. 40 times 5 is 200. Granted, 175 is a laggard. So actually, it is not a leader in that electric vehicle move. From about $10 to 24, it's not 500% up. But it also is slow, right? So it's consolidating here at about 16, then consolidating again. The consoles could take time. However, I think this one is really on an uptrend. So it really depends on you, how you want it to be. Sound went out. Okay, I'm back. So I'm going to show you a few things on my watch list. Nikki watch. Definitely, the sell-offs were contained in one sector. The value names weren't really affected. Take a look at the value names. Kohl's Corporation was actually up 13%. Your Nordstrom, your Macy's were very strong. A lot of your reopening names and themes were still strong. So the portfolio is okay. TripAdvisor was strong. What you're seeing in the market is actually some rotation happening from super leaders to super laggards. You are seeing that movement. So the leaders are the 500%, 1000% moves. Some electric vehicles, some solar names are actually being profit taken from, and some value names have been picking up. So you've seen actually example, Funko was trading at $9 last night. So it wasn't selling off even as the market was selling off those Chinese electric vehicles, etc. So in my view, what you're seeing is that the market is truly shifting their bets to a lot of strong reopening themes. That's why you're seeing that Disney is steady and strong at about $150. Very strong move, no? It wasn't falling down. So you are seeing that the pandemic winners are becoming the pandemic losers next year. So Zoom video is falling. Some names, I don't think that Zoom is gonna fall forever. That 15% drop is just a day. Tonight, if it drops actually 5 to 10%, it's actually gonna be an opportunistic area. In my view, more on buying area, more on buying zone. Okay, there's a question. ACB and Tilray, is it a good buy now? So actually, ACB and Tilray have done something like 4 to 12, and then back to 6, then back to 12. So there's a lot of movement here. Take note, the ranges of ACB is very strong, 4 to 12. See that? Actually, it's not even 12. This was 380 all the way to 14. Even if you managed to just sell at 12, not really at high, and even if you didn't buy at 4, let's say you just bought, not 380, let's say you just bought at 4 or 5, still made a huge ton of money. So with ACB, Aurora Cannabis, it has been quite typical that the buyers and sellers of Aurora Cannabis are usually traders. So the kind of people that are buying and selling Aurora Cannabis are not the long-term types. And so you see them actually selling every time it goes up, selling every time it goes up. However, I do think that there will always be a buyer when it goes back down to a 7 or 8 area. So I'd say that there will be that huge ranges going forward for Aurora Cannabis. That would also be the same. The truth would also be the same for your Tilray. Unlike your Glow Generation, unlike your Green Thumb, unlike your True Leaf or even Cura Leaf, these are the companies that are not yet as profitable. And so you could see that there's a ton of resistances. Tilray goes from $4 to $12, back to $6, and then can went $9, back to about $8. I think that there will be buyers actually below 8 for Tilray. And those buyers will be the same buyers here who would sell at 11. So it's pretty clear right now that ACB and Tilray are very much happy trading names rather than buy and hold names. Nonetheless, of course, some people would buy and hold them even with that huge volatility because ACB and Tilray are gonna benefit with your Kamala Harris vice presidency. So a lot of people are really looking to position into cannabis names. It's just that whether they're positioning through Aurora Cannabis, or if they're positioning through Hexo, or they're positioning through Grow Generation, which is actually this one is some more easy positioning. GWPH was actually recommended in the inner circle at about 108. That was here at about 108. So far, it went 30%. As you could see, this is just cruising all the way up. So there are many names that are still at all-time high zones, or at the very least, better risk reward rather than so it's not like 100% move in just a week, but it is still gonna be those easy money that is more trending rather than strictly on strictly with a lot of resistances. So this one example, after that gap up move at 100, you've got the first resistance at 140, and then 160, and then 180. So these are more less volatile. You could see that last night it was just down 2%. Versus example, your ACB and Tilray, which is up 20% and down 20% at the same time. So you pick your own poison. Not all cannabis names are the same. Not all cannabis characteristics are also the same. Just because they're cannabis doesn't mean that they move the same. I'm gonna show to you as well a lot more. So your value names have been picking up. So I think that there is that reopening play. Your Funkos are fine, your Macy's are fine, your department stores are fine. There was news that Kohl's Corp was actually partnered with Sephora shops. How about the 2020 strong movers? The market didn't sell all of the stronger moves. However, with electric vehicles as a whole selling off, I'd say that Tesla 500 to 600 has some selling pressure there. And so here, 10% drops from your Chinese electric vehicles. These are all China. BYD, NEO, Xpeng, same for your Geely, no? So another 10% drop. I'd say that these drops in the Chinese electric vehicle will eventually get a support, but those are where you want to actually actively put a buying position on if they actually make a big drop. The huge drop last night was really on the electric sector. 15%, 12%, 11. So very strong moves. Just pick which name you like. Amongst these, I already said that the buying opportunity, it seems to me, are the Xpengs, the Charge Point, the Rcimotos, for instance. And of course, Zoom Video tonight if it falls lower. 6% down for Geely. Do expect that the solar names could also fall another 5% even after yesterday's 5% drop. So profit taking as low as $20, that's normal. Your first solar can get some profit taking further, your sun runs. Despite that, it doesn't mean that the 10x trend for your electric vehicles and your solars are done. So I don't think that they're done. Actually, it's an opportunity to buy if you don't have them. Did you hear about Hillian? It's asking for the public to exercise their warrants or they can lose it. What do you think about Hillian long term? I didn't cover Hillian. I didn't study it, so I can't say much about it. To be honest, with the electric vehicles, I only studied a few. So yeah, I didn't study IRO. I didn't study Solo. I didn't study Hillian. So yeah, so I can't say much. I think that probably the fact that they're doing this warrants is that they need money, most likely. So yeah, so also I don't like this. The fact that the charts already tell you from 56 to 19 tells you that it's probably a lot of it's a bad thing actually. So I would veer away from it. Ma'am, thoughts on Adaptimmune? That's a cancer therapy name. Adaptimmune is actually okay with me. Below $5 is a support. You've got these levels. It's being supported here from 4 to 480. I don't think it goes $2, honestly speaking. So Adaptimmune, this was covered in the class. I won't explain why, but you can go to our class to understand this name. I think it's at support, so it's okay. Yun. So actually, there are a lot of ways to be safe in the market. You could see there are names like these. Rewalk Robotics, take a look at this. 130 areas looks to be a supportive area. So 139, wow, I didn't notice. Last night, this went to 180. I must have been sleeping. My gosh, it was up 160 last night and I didn't even notice. I have Rewalk Robotics, guys. It was 170 last night. Ma'am, I was sleeping. I didn't know that. Either way, I do think that Rewalk Robotics goes to $2 and beyond. So, yeah, I have these names. Guys, umangat pala ng $2 tong Rewalk kagabi. Yeah, so I think like there's a lot of good opportunities that remains in the market. There are those obvious electric vehicles in China. So watch out for them. And then of course the earnings front. Take note that some earnings, no matter how good they are, will actually be sold down. Some cannabis names might actually give an opportunity. SPACs are coming as well. There's so many SPACs, there's so many IPOs. I'd say that the selling off right now of some positioning is actually in preparation for some upcoming IPOs. So rather than investing in the companies that are listed already, you might actually consider some options. Some of your best positioning might actually come into the recent December IPOs. Watch out for Airbnb, watch out for Roblox, watch out for Affirm. Just a few names that are actually interesting on my end. Thank you very much. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and join our inner circle. Go to http://www.awesome10x.com. Hello, guys, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.